It is chatting with big bright lights and camera. That works.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay.
I'll try. When I was younger, really enjoyed being outside. I was fortunate enough to have grandparents that owned a farm. Did a lot of horseback riding. I pretty much lived outside. We lived about 6 blocks away from a neighborhood swimming pool. Spent every day at the swimming pool. Our summers were spent pretty much at least once a month at a lake. Telling people to wear sunscreen was just starting. So we were encouraged to wear sunscreen, but it wasn't something that people strongly suggested or told us to do. Honestly, I don't know that I ever put sunscreen on any time at all in my youth. I seem to recall putting coconut oil on my skin a lot in college while I was laying out on the beach. Was more focused on how dark my skin would get versus trying to protect it as much as I could. About 3 years ago now, I actually found a bump on the top of my skull and thought it was an ingrown hair or something. Kind of ignored it, picked at it, didn't do anything about it. Finally one day had my husband look at it and he said probably need a dermatologist to look at it. So I went to the dermatologist. He cut it off, sent it in. It came back as a possibility of being melanoma, but wasn't a confirmed diagnosis. So they removed some more margins just to ensure that they had everything around it. And pretty much just went on with my life, not thinking anything about that. About a year later, I ended up with a bump back at the base of my skull and went to see a doctor about it, and he said it was a lymph node, but felt it was a lymph node that was infected. Thought maybe I had some sort of sinus issues, and so put me on an antibiotic, informed me that it should go down within that 2-week time frame, and it didn't, and so I ignored it for a couple more weeks. Knowing how easy and convenient it is to go see our employee health nurse, I made an appointment to see her.
The visit we had with Jen initially was fairly routine. She noted this other little node that she was concerned it hadn't resolved, and I said, let's just get a non-invasive ultrasound and just to make sure that it's not something that needs further evaluation. And
Angie had to share the news that it was cancer.
Certainly it was tough when those results came back. It was not something I had ever done in my life, and I think she knew, certainly when I called her back in on a Friday afternoon.
So she made arrangements for me to see the oncologist, and things moved very quickly after that. I went in for a PET scan, met with the doctor then a couple days after that for the results, and the only location at that point in time that they found melanoma was in my neck area. So I have this lovely scar on my neck. They went in and removed 33 lymph nodes, and it came back that 4 of them were infected with melanoma. And so I had the surgery the end of September of 2014. So I went to see her just to kind of get a second opinion, and they looked at the PET scan that I had already had done, and they recommended radiation. And so I had radiation on my neck because it was so close to my throat, lost the ability to eat because basically it made my throat raw for a while, and survived that, got through all of that just fine. And then in April of 2015, I was playing around with the back of my head and I found another bump on the back of my head. He removed it and that came back positive for melanoma. So we did another round of radiation, had a chest x-ray done in September of 2015, and a spot appeared on my lungs, and that came back as positive for melanoma. They had 3 spots show up on the PET scan. So in October of 2015, I had surgery to remove these 3 spots from my lungs. After that, they decided to treat me with an infusion therapy, or an immunotherapy is what it's called. Since January, I've had 2 PET scans, a CT scan, and a chest x-ray. The doctor is constantly monitoring me. I'm going in every 4 to 6 weeks. And actually last week I had another PET scan and they have found more spots. Next week I start an infusion therapy again. Different drug, 30-minute infusion, and I go in every 3 weeks, and that could go on continually for up to 3 years, depending on how well my body responds to this. My husband goes to every single appointment, sits with me, which I appreciate so much just for the moral support of it. You always hear about this happening to people and you're like, it'll never happen to me. And that's the mentality I think a lot of people have. And so you may not take care of yourself the way you should. My family has a history of breast cancer. So I always thought if there was going to be a cancer for me, it was going to be breast cancer. That was not the one that got me. It was melanoma, which interestingly, I have found that there is a history of melanoma in my family on both sides. So this may be somewhat genetic. That's another reason why I'm so concerned with my daughters, stressing to my children how important sunscreen is. And when they roll their eyes at me, I say, but you know why we're doing this? And they said, yes, we do. So they understand. Still enjoy being outside, but I'm more cautious about it. Make sure that I have protection on, sunscreen. I am still working on the fact that when you're in your car, I think sometimes people think they're protected being in your car because your windows might be tinted, but you still need to put sunscreen on when you're driving in your car. It's just sad. It's hard to break a 40-year habit of not putting on sunscreen.
When it comes to safety in the sun, we are all at risk, and so reminding people of that and encouraging us to take those steps with our young children and at all ages to protect our skin and still be able to enjoy the sun, but to be wise about it.
I'm 2 years out and I'm still kicking, and I plan to be here for another 40 years. So we'll keep hoping that the medicine is there for us. I would recommend that you don't ignore anything. If you feel that something new has shown up on your skin, or even if it is something that's been there for a while, I highly recommend seeing a dermatologist or even a family practice doctor once a year for a skin check, or even checking it yourself. But I just recommend you have somebody look at it, because early detection is the key. The sooner you find it, the better off you are.